going to show you guys the most important step is always the preparation, and we're going to have to mask out all the matte plastic all the way around the circumference. Just give it a little bit of a mask, so when we go in there with the rotary polisher, and if the edge of the tool hits the matte plastic with some polish on it, it's not going to put shiny marks in it. So that's what happens with plastic. If you go to try to take out scratches on an adjacent panel and you touch another section that's a satin or a matte plastic, you're going to shine it up and you're not going to be able to restore that back to original finish. So that's why we're going to take time. We're going to use the 3M green finish line tape, and we're going to tape this up real quickly. We're not going to do the screen in the middle. This is an LCD screen, just like the one on the dash. I do not recommend anyone to ever attempt to polish an LCD screen. It's just not going to work. We're over on my workbench. So I already tried to see if the Rupes long neck hybrid nano was going to work, and it can work for about 50% of polishing the gauges. The problem is the shape of the outside of the cluster interferes with the long neck. So we have to go in there with a more localized tool, and we're going to use the little nano polisher that I shot a video on last week, where I did the polishing of the GT350 taillights in between. So for this particular case, we're not going to use the drill, we're not going to use a buffer. I actually need more RPM, so we're going to use my Dremel. I already attached it to the collet, as I show you there. We're also going to use a microfiber type of pad because we're working with a solid surface material. Plastic is not a clear coat, it's a solid surface material. We need more RPM, we need more heat, and we need a little bit more tenacity so we don't burn the finish. Now, if you do burn plastic, you can bring it back to life by sanding it, usually starting with 220 up to 800, then you can polish it out very easily. The polishes we're going to use today, we're going to use the Novus. These polishes are outstanding for acrylic, for lucite, polycarbonate, Lexan. This stuff is no joke. It works great. It also, this particular one does not dust out at all. So we're going to start with number 2, the fine scratch remover. We're not going to go to the heavy scratch remover yet. This is going to make a mess because that does dust out. It's more like a polishing compound. But before we get started, we're going to bring the different sizes of the 3M finish line tape into the car. We're going to mask out around the perimeter of the cluster. I'm going to use my nylon wedge to make sure the tape is tucked in all the way around. And here I have also another nylon wedge that's wrapped in felt. This is the same type of felt squeegee that guys that do vinyl wraps use. This is the same exact tool, so you don't mar and damage the finish. So you want to use stuff that's safe. You want to take the time to do the preparation, and you don't. This is just a Grills Garage dual weave PFM wax removal towel, and then when we're done, we're going to hit it with some autofanatic 007 gloss enhancer, and we're going to call it a day. So this particular process works on any car, whether it's a vintage car, modern car, whatever. Just do not attempt to polish an LCD screen. It's just not going to work. You're going to cause damage. LCD screens have a baked-on embedded coating, and you cannot polish it, whether it's a radio, navigation, or dashboard. So if your car has like an acrylic or a lens attached to the gauges, they can be restored easily and safely. So let's get over to the car and start masking out right now. I'm going to pull the steering wheel forward. It's going to give me a little bit more room, and you guys could probably see that on camera. I mean, these gauges look totally nasty. So we want to protect the matte plastic all the way around the circumference of each lens. We're not going to touch the middle over here because this is an LCD information screen. It's not a gauge. And we're going to do both sides. We're not going to go crazy masking up all the way up here. We just want to make sure that when the rotary tool at high speed touches the edge, because we want to polish all the way to the edge, we do not want to polish out the satin plastic. It's not going to look good, and you're not going to be able to restore that finish back. So what I usually do, I'm going to go in there, and we're going to do this in several sections. We can't do this in one piece. There's just not enough room. If we remove the steering wheel, yes, we could definitely do this job a hell of a lot quicker and easier. But whenever I restore a vintage car, I usually take apart the gauge cluster and I do the gauges individually on the high-speed polisher, and then I reassemble them and I paint the dials and I do all of that good stuff. But this is one of those things where on a new car you can't do something like that easily. So as you're going along, you want to tear the tape. It's a little trick, just so you could bend around the circumference like I'm showing you guys there. Okay, and you just want to make a couple of relief cuts all along the way, and that's just going to save the day when you go in there, because we're going to be using the Dremel tool today, and that little Dremel tool has a very high RPM, and that will polish up this matte plastic real quickly. It would take a matter of milliseconds for that to cause damage, and that's something that we just do not want all along the edge. And that's going to make sure that the tape is not going to lift when the little backing plate and the microfiber cutting pad is spinning at a very high RPM, because that's going to totally ruin the job, and you're going to have to start over and hopefully not have any damage. So it's actually really hard to get in here with the steering wheel on this particular car. All right, guys, just finished masking up the other side of the gauge cluster. You guys can see it there. It's a little tricky to do. It takes a little bit of time because there's not a lot of room to work with the steering column and the steering wheel, and you're sitting in the seat, so you're further back. And like I said, if the steering wheel was off, this thing would take a matter of 2 minutes. But we're all set up there. Also, when you're done with the tape, always go over all the edges where you're going to be against the adjacent lens and the matte plastic. Make sure the tape is down there well. If it isn't, you know, you could always use a nylon wedge like this and go all the way around and make sure it's down there well. Or, like I said, the felt edge squeegee. We got everything set up, everything's plugged in. I already primed the microfiber pad, so what you're going to want to do is always shake up your plastic polish. And what I usually do, I just throw a little bit on the pad, 2 dots, and then I just use my finger and I just make sure it's fully covered. You don't want to have dry edges when you're polishing plastic, because the dry edge could actually create more heat and you could actually leave a dull mark onto the finish. So also, you need to use 2 hands when you're doing this. Like I show you here, I got the Dremel in my left hand. If you're not able to use both of your hands, have a helper, have somebody help you with it. Don't try to, you know, if you're not comfortable holding 2 tools in your hand and controlling the speeds and everything else, then this could actually cause damage with this collar rotating, and you could just cause some issues. So we're going to start at a very low speed. You're going to want to spread the product all the way around. And don't worry if it's stalled, because we don't want to go to the mega high speed right now. We want to get the polish spread. We want to try to do some correcting. I'm putting moderate pressure on the plastic right now, and that's what you want to do. You can hear the pressure that I'm putting is actually slowing the motor down, because there's not that good of a control on a Dremel as far as real fine RPM adjustments with like a potentiometer. And I already could see all the scratches are gone. We got a little bit of haze from the cutting pad. And this is why you need to protect the edges when you go all the way to the edge. Okay? So now you can see the pad here. It's pretty dry. We're going to load it up again. We're going to give it another pass. And I got to tell you guys, this little $35 nano polisher that I did a review on my channel last week, I think it's outstanding. If you guys haven't seen that video, go check that out. Now you have this other complimentary video of me using the same tool. Unfortunately, I could not use my $600 Rupes Hybrid Nano because of the situation of getting in here with it. So this is a total game changer, man. For the money, I actually really, really like it. I'm glad that I picked it up, and I'm glad that I'm actually using it. This is like the 4th time that I'm using it already. So that's that. So I'm going to take some autofanatic 007 gloss enhancer. I'm going to spray it in there, just like that. I want to get some of that residue off, and we want to inspect our work. And it's totally safe to get on LCD screens as well, if anybody is questioning that. Now we're going to switch pads. We're going to put a foam finishing pad on there, just like that. And use your fingers. I mean, this stuff is pretty safe. I don't think you're going to have any issues. There doesn't seem that there's any solvents in it. Okay, so now the pad is nice and moist. And then we're going to hit it with a little bit more. Okay, so we are done. Looks great. And like I said, the biggest part of this job is just getting yourself set up and masking everything out. And this is why you need to mask everything out. Guys, as I was wrapping up, I grabbed my Rupaz Hybrid Nano and I loaded up some Griot's Garage Boss Perfecting Cream. I just want to bring this out to a little bit more of a luster. And I'm able to go in there carefully. I can't get to the very top, but I want to get to down here. So let's see if I could show you guys that on camera. This is a great tool, and I'll be doing a full review video of this tool very soon. It's got excellent control. And for doing interior work, that's it, guys. We're all finished. I'm just going to give this a quick wipe and clean up the interior a little bit. Hope you guys learned some tips and tricks on how easy this is to do. First step, get your tools out. Make sure you're prepared. Make sure you have the polishes. And always mask out the perimeter so you don't cause any damage or excess scratches. And you don't want to polish out a satin finish and turn it into a gloss finish if that's not the way your car came. So see you guys soon. Stay tuned to the channel for more automotive content. Visit autofanatic.com now. We are shipping wheel cleaner as we speak. And stay tuned to the channel. More videos to come. autofanatic@yahoo.com. I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a great day.